Hello, everyone. Welcome to the John Clarence Gomez Show. I'm your host, John Clarence Gomez, and my guest today is Filipino-Australian theater actress Josie Lane. Hi,
Hello,
Josie. Hello.
everyone. Hi, John Clarence Gomez. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And hello, it's me, Josie Lane. How are you today,
Yes,
John?
yes, I'm okay today. Uh,
That's good.
uh, yes, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Josie Lane. As John Clarence Gomez said, I am mestiza, so I am half Filipino, half Australian. My mum is Filipino, my dad is Australian. I have worked in musical theatre in Australia, but I've done a lot of different things. I've also worked in cabaret and done a bit of improv and a lot of other things as well. But mostly my main bag is musical theatre and singing, really. I'm a singer first, a vocalist first. Very, very Pinoy of me to be vocalist first, but we can do everything. So there you go.
Uh, Here is the first question. How do you become a theater actress? Who inspire you or encourage you to become a theater actress?
Well, I had a lot of different inspirations to be very specifically theatre actress, because obviously when you're young, and I'm not sure if you have, I'm guessing you have listeners from all over the world, but in Filipino culture specifically, there is a lot of music, there is a lot of storytelling, and specifically storytelling through song. And there are so many brilliant, like it's something that, I mean, I'm not going to say everybody because I'm my mum's daughter and I know how my mum sings, so not every philo can sing. uh, but there's a lot of I'd say vocal talent within the gene pool of a country. I mean, it's an archipelago of islands, so there's a lot of people to to find that have talent. But I would say, I grew up singing, and I very much grew up singing karaoke and all that stuff. But so when it came to being an actual vocalist, I listened to a lot of Whitney Houston specifically. I really love Whitney. So do so many people. She's one of the great divas. So much Celine Dion. But I would say musically, they would probably be more aligned with where I wanted to pitch myself as a singer, where I dreamed about singing. And then I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. So then I had Christina Aguilera and influence a lot of my vocal stylings. And I always, when I was young, was aiming towards pop singing and listened that way. And then when I was younger, my mum was approached in a supermarket about, oh, your child. I was just singing along in the supermarket, and she was given a card for a place called the Young Australian Broadway Chorus. It's now called Stage School Australia, and then it's had a whole lot of different names. And then they said, okay, would you send your child here? Because a lot of that kind of happens to people. It's not like you get approached and you're some megastar, but there are people that work in places who go, hey, your child's got something going on. Maybe you want to put them in a class. And so that was when I was about 12. And so from there, I was then introduced to musical theatre almost by accident because, again, I had that pop styling, that pop leaning. And my mum actually thought she was taking me to Johnny Young Talent Time, which in Australia was a show where I'm not sure if you're familiar with the artist Tina Arena.
Yes, I know
Yeah.
her. She is popular here
Yeah.
in the Philippines. Her song,
Yes,
uh,
exactly.
her song "Burn"
Yeah, beautiful. I loved, you know what? Tina
and
Arena is
"Change."
also someone I was deeply inspired by as well. She did this thing on a television show called Johnny Young Talent Time, and they did have a subsequent school from that as well. But my mum thought that's where she was taking me. And it turns out instead, I was introduced to musical theatre. So I think the first show that I learned at the time when I was that age was Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, and heard that kind of Andrew Lloyd Webber music. But then it continued to grow from there. And I think because for me, I loved singing, but I remember being a child and listening to Pocahontas, for example. And that's also very musical theater as well. All those Disney princess songs really lend themselves to musical theater because that's kind of what it is, like that filmic score, all that kind of stuff. So it was almost by accident that I found musical theater as something that I really found my voice in, if that made sense, because I knew I could sing, obviously, but there was something more that I was like, oh, this is exciting. You can dance, you can do acting and things like that. So when I went to YABC, I discovered all these friends and I heard all this music that I had not really heard before. Like I hadn't heard Miss Saigon until I was there, or Fame the musical, or even like The Wild Party, Andrew Lipper, even Sondheim. And I got this education on a Friday at 6 o'clock after school till 9 o'clock. And then it opened up my eyes to this other world of music and sound other than what I had known. So I'd say that influenced me. And then along that line, obviously Leia Salonga, because who isn't? We're all still influenced by her. Everything she's doing is amazing in every genre that she's doing. So obviously voices like that, and even as I was saying with Pocahontas, Judy Kuhn's voice and that kind of storytelling with voice drew me. And I also do a lot of cabaret, and I would say my inspirations for cabaret really lay in Bette Midler's pool, because I had known a Bette Midler, like we'd always sang "Wind Beneath My Wings." I'm not sure if you ever sing that in the karaoke. And then I found The Rose from her and other things, and then realized she had this big cabaret career where she was bawdy and exciting. And I was like, wow, you can be more than just the singer that does the album and just has the video clip. There's so many more facets that you can do. So that's kind of what geared me towards cabaret and musical theater, that there's acting and all kinds of different characters you can play. So I would say like Bette Midler inspired me as well. So I had like a lot of different inspiration as far as bringing me towards this as a career, if that makes sense. So I'd say it's a very eclectic mix of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you also appear in many theater theater production in Australia, like the Little Shop of Horrors with Esther Hannaford, and also Miracle City. I see a song from you from Miracle City singing Raise the Roof,
And
yung working on the day,
with
we're
Kelly
gonna
Rowe.
raise the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of, sorry, I'm just drinking out of my Miracle City mug now that we're speaking of it. So yeah, so after I finished YABC, I ended up, I wanted to take a year off to go to WAPA, which is the Australian Performing Arts Academy of Australia, or NIDA. And these were routes that I was like, okay, maybe I'll go there. So I took a year off. But in the meantime, from YABC, I had auditioned for my first role, which was Marcy Park with the STC. And from there, I kind of found my way into this. And yes, as you were saying, I had done Miracle City, which is an Australian piece written by Nick Enright and Max Lambert. And it had a reprise season in 2014 at the Hayes Theatre. And that's where we recorded that album where you're singing Raise the Roof with Esther Hannaford and Marika Aubrey, as well as Mike McLeish, who I think has been on the show as well. Um,
Yes, he is my one of
yeah,
my guests. Last
yeah.
2020 during COVID era.
Oh wow! Well, Mike, amazing, amazing person.
Yes,
And
he is
Lazy Best
amazing.
and a whole lot of, yeah. So I really do particularly enjoy doing Australian work. I mean, Miracle City wasn't new, but I also like doing new workshopped Australian work. I really think it's integral to find different voices, and it's so good in Australia as well because we have so many mestizo, mestiza, mestis ex people here as well. And there's actually now becoming so many more actual Filipino voices in the sphere of and I know you're a creator yourself, but it's so important that we do create and tell these stories and find new ways because it's all well and good that we've got Andrew Lloyd Webber, Sondheim, all the classics. That's amazing. But I do enjoy lending my voice to new work and things as well. So we've got some really exciting artists like Geordie Shea in particular writing new pieces, and Victoria Falconer as well is an extremely amazing maestra that lends her brilliant talents to so many
Yes,
wonderful projects here.
I
Yeah.
know I I know Victoria Falconer. She is a Filipino-Australian also.
Yeah,
She is
she
working
is.
in Hayes Theatre Company
She is. I
along with
recently
Richard Caro.
That's right. And I recently worked with Vicky on a project called Flash House, which was just a development work for a company called Fluxus. And again, like it was the first time I'd worked with her. And it's so, I mean, it's inspiring to work with wonderful women, but when they're also Pinoy as well, it's got this level of pride where you're like, oh wow, this is brilliant. Like we're out here, we're doing it, we're getting our voices. Like it's yeah, it's wonderful. But yes, Vicky's amazing.
Yes, yes. The reason that I encourage me to invite you is because when I am listening to the every musical ever of Richard Carroll, you are talking about many musicals like Miss Saigon, Hamilton, and Avenue Q. So when I hear that, oh, oh, I think Josie is the best fit for my guest because she is really great on
Wow,
talking about.
that's so nice of you to say, John. But no, it's really fun. Richard is a great friend of mine. And we actually also, and you also interviewed Hayden on your show before, Hayden
Yeah,
T.
yeah.
We had, so from the podcast that you heard, we also developed, Richard wrote a show with a couple of like Zara Stanton, as well as Julian Cosgriff. A couple of people got together. And then myself, Hayden T, Georgina Hobson, and Dash Crook, we also all did a show based on, it's not based on the podcast, but it's based on the idea of how do you do every musical ever. So we also did a show all together based on that
Wow.
podcast. So it's great. So it's a podcast that keeps on giving. It's very fun.
Yeah. Also, there is also an Australian podcast that has also very similar to my podcast, also called Impromptus. Because on my podcast, I do table reads where the play that I wrote, I I invite my friends and we do table reads on my podcast. And also on Impromptus, there is also a improved kind of a musical. It is very similar to my podcast.
Oh, how
Do you know that
exciting.
podcast, Impromptus? Do you know that podcast?
Yeah, so I actually did a moment with the impromptu. So as I said to you, I've also studied improvisation. So I went to New York and I did some courses at Upright Citizens Brigade, as well as the
Wow.
Magnet Theatre, which does very specifically does a lot more musical theatre or musical improv. I also went to Improv Olympic in Chicago. It's the theatre formerly known as Improv Olympic. They all change names all the time, but when I got back to Melbourne, it was something I wanted to explore again because yeah, it was an interesting time of my life that I did it though, because I was at the precipice of like I was still touring musicals. I was doing cruise ships with a show called Rock Rhapsody. So that was something I was doing. So I wasn't really home. And then we moved to London. And so I got to have a minute there. I did their training because I just like to train and I like to explore. It's very improv to say yes so it's like yes and build things. And that's kind of how I've approached my own career and how I've looked at what I am as an artist. I go, yes, and so yes, I can do this. And what else can I do next? And just to try it, even if it doesn't completely lead somewhere, just to give it a go is something I've always done and encouraged others to do as well. Because, as being an artist, you can't always just work, 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 work. Because especially in Australia specifically, we have a lot of entertainers, but not necessarily a lot of paid jobs. Like, of course, you're always striving to do paid work. But that's why development is also so interesting and finding other strings to your bow. So, as you were saying about your podcast, and when you're doing your table reads of work that you've written. So, impromptu is something I did for a while. And yes, we were making up musicals on the spot. People would put in titles and we would improv based on the title of something that someone had sent in. So I think one of the episodes I did was like post-its or something. I'm not sure. I should know this a bit more, John. I apologize. But that was some fun we had too. But I think it's great that you're also getting people together to read because of course as a writer, it's so important to hear the work over and over again because the genius lives in your head and you just go, "Oh, I'm so amazing. Nothing can touch me." And then you hear voices and then you go, "Okay, great. I can see where I can improve, where I can fix things, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense." So it's really great that you're doing that and getting your friends together because this is the thing. You as an artist, you want to work and you want to do stuff and you want to create, but it doesn't always have to be like I must do it at the biggest and brightest place. It's like being in your own safe space with your friends is also a big bright place where you get to explore your artistry. So it's wonderful that you're doing that as well, John.
Yes, who inspired me and encouraged me to become a playwright. It's one of my friend from the US, Florida, USA named Maggie Merritt. Me and Maggie met online on Facebook because I am joining so-called because I am not only a playwright, I'm also an virtual theater actor. I join many virtual theater groups online, like on Facebook groups, where there is an playwright will vote a short play and they will cast cast many people and I was one of the cast there and I met Maggie and she inspired me to write a short plays. And also I want to tell you that last 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 June I play as Joshua on a short play titled Ice Break, wrote by one of one of my friend. He wrote that short play and I was auditioned and I get accepted and I played the lead role of Joshua in an called Queer Virtual One Act Festival. It is a festival to celebrate Pride Month because the short play I play Ice Break is a short play about two gay men talking each other about love. I'm very proud to play the role of Joshua there, and yes,
Congratulations. That's so amazing. And announced here at the end of Pride season. It's the end of Pride season in America. So, what a wonderful role that you got to play and that you auditioned for and got to be in this sphere. So, congratulations. That's amazing, John.
yes, that's amazing. And also last year, last July 2025, I also got cast from a UK based online theater company named Shakespeare. They do many virtual theater show like Romeo and Juliet, and I got cast there on their Romeo and on their online production of Romeo and Juliet as Prince last July
Oh, wow.
2025.
Great role. Great
Yes, that's me.
role.
Yes,
Nice.
I'm very happy that online theater, even though that kind of theater only held on Zoom, not on a physical theater, it is really fun to that to do that kind of shows. And also I want to tell you that kind of shows are voluntary and unpaid. I
Yeah, of
know.
course. But it's
Yeah,
nourishing at the very least for you as an artist, I
yeah,
think. And
yeah.
to find avenues of nourishment is always really important, I think. For me, I took a break from acting for a little while. I've got a son now, but I went to chefing for a little while when we moved to London. So I studied to be a vegan chef, and then I was working in kitchens, and that was another different thing that I wanted to do to nourish my creativity in a different way. And so, yeah, the possibilities are always so endless when you are artistically inclined and you want to explore. And it is the very yes and essence to just follow that thing. Like Del Close, who is a improv godly figure says follow the fear. And I go, it's good to follow the fear because doing things you're afraid of, if you see them and you go through them, you're no longer afraid. And that is something that is really great, especially that you're doing the virtual theater and all this stuff and writing. And I 100% encourage anyone listening that does have that inclination, just write something and just try it because at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is someone will hate it, but that's all right. Someone will hate it. Someone will hate you, or someone will hate it even on your best day when you're doing your favorite thing and you don't even know what that is. That's not up to you how people will take things or do. If you just want to follow it and feel it, and if it doesn't work out, that's also fine. At least you did something, you know? So it's amazing that
Yeah.
you're doing that and that you're doing this podcast.
Yes, that's right. We can collaborate also sometimes, like doing talking about some musicals like Miss Saigon or when you had a time. Yeah,
Sure.
sure, we
Sounds
can
fab.
collaborate. Yes. Also, I want to tell you that last week I did a table with on my podcast titled a short play that I wrote. A new short play I wrote titled All We Need Is Love. It is a short play about two gay couple named Daryl, Ian, and Blake that even though they have an economic problems, they still love each other. It is a
Wow.
short
Yeah.
play I wrote. Yes, you can listen it on my podcast. The
Yes. Me
that
and all the
table with
listeners right now, please tune in. It obviously will be under this episode. So have a listen as well, anyone listening, and I will be sure to do that myself as well.
yes, yes, that's right. Uh, Also, did you know? I want to tell you about. Did you know that there are many Australian musicals or Australian production of Broadway show that goes to the Philippines? Do you know Wicked the musical featuring Gemma Wicks? And
Yes, my one of my
yes,
best friends, Chris
yeah,
Scalzo, also was on that production as well. He
yes,
was understudy for Bach, and I actually got to see him. We went to I visit because my family is from Cebu, and we went to visit in 2014, and I actually did end
yes.
up
That's
getting to see him there, and I saw Gemma and Susie Mathers. Playing Glinda
yes,
at the time, and it was fabulous. I know there's a lot of controversy around the theater itself, at the time. I know my cousins were talking about the controversy of the theatre. But it was also good to see something being done there that people could celebrate and that people could be fans of and get lost in that experience. Because obviously that's very special. Wicked is so special to so many people. That's another musical I listened to and was very inspired by when I was young. Obviously, that Adina Menzel, Kristen Chenoweth recording. Yeah, that, and I'm glad that you saw it as well and you loved it and got to see
yes,
Gemma Rix, who is absolutely extraordinary artist and performer in Australia, and she does luckily get to tour a bit to Asia. I think she do Frozen
yes.
in Asia at
Singapore,
all? In Singapore,
Singapore
of
and
course.
South Korea, and then they go
Yes.
to Manila in 2014. But in Australia, there is a little bit of difference on the cast of Glinda because in Australia it is Lucy Durack who is playing as Glinda, but in Singapore, South Korea, and Philippines, it is Susie Matters. That's who
Yeah.
play as Glinda. That's the only difference. But the cast is the same. But
It was
but I
also the
see.
same because Susie was also doing the show at the time. So it was technically still the same cast because people often did get to see Susie as well in Australia. So you're right that the main role or the person that was playing the role at the time was different, but Susie was also still in the show in Australia at the time. So it was different. And then Susie went on to play it in the West End as well.
Yes, yes. Yes, I know. Also, I remember the cast in the Manila, the Wicked caster because I watched it. I remember Gemma Rick, Susie Matters, and the person who play as Piero is Steve Danielson, and the person who play as the wizard is Jay Lagaaya. But in
Amazing.
Singapore, it is not Jay Lagaaya who play as the wizard. It is Bert Newton in
Yeah, late
Singapore.
great Bert Newton. He's since
Yeah,
passed now, but yes. Yeah, but Jay's also. I have a 3.5-year-old son, so we listen to a lot of Jay Guy's children's music. It's nice, and
yes,
obviously he's also in Star Wars and everything. I guess it
yeah,
just goes to show, similar to what I was talking about before. Like, it's there's a lot of strings to everybody's bow as well. Like, you don't always just have to be just theater, just this. Just, I came from a pop sensibility, then found my way cabaret, did musicals, did improv. I, have done a lot of vocal work as well, and then became a chef. But and at the moment I'm just taking a break. But yeah, it's just so interesting that all your idols and people you get to see on stage that you're like, wow, I love Jay Lagai or I love Gemma Ricks or I love get to have these big careers, but not based on the fact that it just falls on their lap. They try the different things. You know what I mean? Jay's got a big family and he loves to just make music and create, and obviously was on Play School, and he still does lots of theater productions as well. And yeah, so there's just so many things you can do and try, and they lead to so many different places and only extend you as an artist.
Yes. Also, I want to tell you about a person that I don't know her personally, but she is a musical theater writer from the Philippines, and she is from Cebu. Her name is Jude Gitamundok. She is a Cebuana musical theater writer who wrote many musicals in Cebuano
Wow.
language.
Wow. In Visayan. Yeah. Wow.
Yes, she
That's
is really
amazing.
great.
Are you going to
Yes.
have her on the show?
What?
You're going to have her on the show? You must.
Yes, I might invite her.
Yeah.
Yes,
This is the call out. Come on. Come on, girl, get on.
yes. You know, uh, I remember that there is also an Australian production that tour Southeast Asia, but never go to the Philippines. I remember that Grease the musical in 2014
Oh,
that
I
was put
see.
to Singapore. Yes, the cast of Grease there is Gretel Scarlett. Do you know her and Gretel
Yeah.
Scarlett?
Yeah, Gretel, she's an incredible artist. And I think, I'm not sure if she's back in Australia, but she went over to the US and
Yes,
she was an Elsa
yes,
alternate for a little while as well. And she did it when she was quite pregnant too, which is amazing. Yeah, no, there's a lot of
yeah,
incredible artists that go all around the world. I know you had
yeah.
Luca Donato
Yes,
a
one of
couple
my
of weeks
guests.
ago. Yeah, and she's here and she was from Australia, and her sister kind of are just global phenomenons now. She's in the West End doing Hamilton, and she's marvelous. And she did the same thing where she's got a lot of strings to her bow as well. I've worked with her actually in a capacity where she was an assistant choreographer. Um, but I mean, I just love her, so she's brilliant, and I'm glad that she's in the West End and doing Hamilton and trying out other things over there.
Yeah. Also, there is also one of the cast in the Greece when they go to Singapore. The person who played Danny Suko there is Stephen Mahi, one of my
Oh,
guests
that's right. And
also.
you've also had Stephen on the podcast as
Yes,
well.
yes.
Yeah.
And I because from the Greece the musical, I had interview many one of their cast, Stephen and Tash Marconi.
Ah, yeah, a wonderful
Yes.
artist as well,
I
an
wait,
incredible
wait.
dancer.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Wait, I forgot Stephanie Wild.
Oh, heaven. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yes,
she,
she
like,
is
I've
my
never
guest
met,
also.
I don't know if I've met Stephanie before, but I follow her on Instagram, and all her fitness stuff I'm obsessed with.
Yes,
I love
yes,
that she's just so fit, had a baby, still so fit. I'm like, oh, no, not quite me, but it's good to dream. But no, yeah, I think that's one thing in Australia. I mean, it's all around the world. One thing in Australia when you are in this business, it's often that you have to also do other things as well. Like, but not to say that you're not focused on your career, but it's just that it's good to also strengthen the muscles that you have elsewhere that can be other streams of income, other passions, other businesses. And these people that you've just mentioned all kind of have this. And it's a great example of what we've been touching on throughout this interview.
yes.
Yeah.
Also, I remember there is also a cast that who is really great in the Grease the musical when they go to Singapore, and she is a WAPA graduate also, and his father and his father. I interviewed his father last May on this podcast. Is Stuart Monder, and her name
Oh,
is
of course.
Lucy Monder, who play as Wiso. She is really great. You know,
Yes. She's
one
brilliant.
day, one day, I want her to be my guest to on my podcast.
Well, you should absolutely write her. I mean, you've had Stuart, so it's normal then, so you can get Lucy. So I hope you do. I actually have worked with Lucy as well. She's a dear friend, incredibly gifted person, and a brilliant human being, as well as an extremely talented, just this visceral presence on stage. You can never take your eyes off her. And Stuart's also fabulous. I saw Stuart the other day because my husband was just doing an opera with Victorian Opera, and I was just speaking to him. My husband and I met on a production that I did with Lucy as well, and that Stuart was directing of Into the Woods, and that's where I met my husband Jeremy. So we were just talking about that again. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
thank you. Thank you
That's really
for
nice.
your Yeah, thank you for your time, John. Before I go,
Yeah.
do you have any other questions? I have to put my son to bed in a moment because I
Yes.
can hear him out there
Yes.
just going, "What's happening?"
Yes. Also, here is the last question. Can you give um a little advice to many people, our listeners, who wants to become a theater actress like you? Can you give them a little advice?
Okay, well, my advice is to anyone that is interested in pursuing a career in the arts, specifically in theatre, is to just know that it is not easy. It's not easy. It's not something that will fall into your lap. It is something that requires a lot of work. And that's not just training your body and your craft and all this stuff. It's also like knowing your boundaries and your limits and test, it tests you a lot psychologically. So making sure that if you want to do this, of course, give it your all. Look for all of the classes and courses and things that you want to do. Explore and work with the muscles in different parts of your creativity as well. So do the table reads, get with your friends, write things together, have a friend over and just sing for fun. Do these things because it is really hard to sustain a career in the arts and to also be an artist in a world that is very much not geared towards this way. And this way of thinking is, of course, celebrated, but not necessarily celebrated day to day with the grind that is life, which is fine. And it's good to be realistic there, but to also nourish yourself in other ways as well. Take care of your mental health and your physical health and don't push yourself. If you have a dream, it is good to have a dream. It is good to go for that dream. But be realistic with what your capacity is and learn your capacity, learn your point of view, learn what is fun and what is just pushing to push. So find the fun, find what makes you, it's almost like Marie Kondo, like if it brings you joy, if it sparks joy, follow that joy. I know I said follow the fear. That's why it's interesting that Del Close is like follow the fear. But sometimes joy is with fear. But if things are too scary, that's okay. So just take care of yourself as the human being alongside wanting to strive and aim for these things. So that's my advice. Always look at the person who you are behind all the masks and costumes and things and always take care of that person while you're doing this. That's my word of advice for anyone that wants to do this.
Yeah, thank you, Josie, for getting to my podcast. It's nice to chat with you. And also next time, if you had a time to collaborate with me, like being my guest co-host, talking about musicals like Miss Saigon or Avenue Q or Hamilton, I can invite you again. And also, if I had a table with, if you had a time also, we can do a table with, and I might cast you on possible roles that I want. Yes,
Sure. Thank you so much, John. And thank you for having me. And all the listeners out there, thank you for listening as well. Be sure to check out what's next on John Clarence Gomez's podcast. Thanks for having me, John.
yes, bye.
Bye. See ya.
Yes,
Have a good
and
night.
yes, have a good night. And to our listeners, I want to tell you that this is the John Clarence Comedy Show, and and I am declaring that this episode is now signing off. Good night, everyone, and thank you for listening.